What is up, creative athletes? It is Chris David G, also known as CDG. I'm here with Ross Yoshida, or as I call him, Rossi. Rossi, what's going on?
What's up?
Not much, man. We're just getting into it today. Today we're talking about business. Well, welcome to
Yeah.
Creative Athlete Podcast, guys. Where the worlds of creativity and athleticism collide. Um, Especially today. Today we're going to be talking about ways creative drives revenue. You know what? Before I ask Ross this question, let me just read. Let me tell you how this came about. Adam Zimmerman, senior vice president for the Atlanta Braves, tagged us in a post, and I'll just read it and kind of start off the discussion. So, as he says, as Chris David Garcia and I discussed at MLC Sports Creative Community Conference, I believe that he says, I believe the creative community can be more aggressive in demonstrating and quantifying their impact on the business, referencing, design, art, video, anything in the creative world, impacting the bottom line for the ball club. Ross, what does that mean to you?
First of all, shout out to Adam Zimmerman with the Atlanta Braves, senior vice president of marketing. He's definitely one of the ones that gets it. Um, I think a lot of us that work in sports are kind of victimized by this old school mindset, and the old school mindset uh, is there's revenue departments and there's non-revenue departments, and obviously creatives we're always kind of put into the non-revenue side of things. I mean, we're in the non-revenue side, and I say quote unquote because obviously creative stadium ops, um, development, um, analytics, these baseball analytics. I mean, you might not think of them as traditional revenue driving teams, but they definitely do have a huge impact.
Yeah.
So it was always sponsorship and sales. They're the revenue departments, and everyone else is non-revenue. Well, thankfully, because of great leaders like Adam, we're kind of getting out of that old school mentality, and we're able to kind of move forward as and say, hey, the creative team. Not only are we helping with revenue, not only do we have an impact on revenue, but I would go so far as to say that as a creative team, you are a revenue department. What do you think about that?
I think that's a bold statement. Um, I get where you're coming from, and I think it needs to be bold because, like you said, historically, it's just not even remotely on the radar that we impact. That a creative team can do that. So no, I agree. And I put it to you this. I would put it to you this way: if it wasn't, it wouldn't be so interlocked with sponsorship, partnerships, sponsorships, whatever you want to call them, and sales and marketing, right? Like, could they do the job without creative? I could firmly say no. Like, could you walk into a room without a pitch deck that looks amazing and sell a vision to, some CMO for another company? Or could you get people excited about the season without, rebranding the stadium and offering ticket packages that are like extremely attractive visually, and then the commercial spot gets people excited and the emotion and the storytelling. So yeah, no, I'm a firm believer. I'm not. It's a yin and yang though. It's not like saying, you know, um, that we're mission critical to the company, or it can't succeed. But I will say, all great companies have great in-house creative teams, and it's a very mature and evolved system that a company has to have if they want to do great things on the advertising side and sales. Like, it's just, that's just business 101, honestly. But what we decided to do was uh talk about, we call it top five, but it's really there's so many. But we're gonna give some specific ways that we think or that we've seen or that we've experienced, ways that creative can directly drive impact. So, and hopefully, these are things that you guys can talk amongst yourselves, or, talk with your boss or with your, head of marketing, and just say, hey, we want to be at the table. And, we're realizing that a lot of what we're working on is being used in these sales calls and these, boardroom discussions. And, we have more to add. So, let's just start with one of the first ones. Ross, what is one of your, top ways that, creative can drive revenue for the business, for the club?
Yeah, and keep in mind, I don't think this top 5 is in any particular order.
For sure. Definitely not.
But the first thing that comes to my mind is design of promotional items, giveaways, ticket pack items, etc. I don't know what other teams are doing sales wise. I can only tell you what the Dodgers are doing and how we impact that. But we had a banner record sales year just in ticket pack sales. And just for those that don't know, ticket packs are, they could be a theme night or a heritage night. They're these specialized nights where the consumer has to actually buy a special ticket for this night. This is like the new trend in revenue driving in sports. So like, you have your season ticket holders, you have your regular giveaways, but the ticket pack, let's just say like Pride Night or Mexican Heritage Night, the consumer is buying this special ticket and they can only buy it through the club or team. And they're expecting to get some kind of experience, but they're mainly doing it for the item.
Yeah.
Who was involved in the design and production and development of these items but us, right? Yeah. I know for a fact that we did, I don't want to put an exact figure out there, but we did 8 figures in ticket pack sales alone. And all of our ticket packs are driven by the item. I could give a few examples here. So like for Japanese Heritage Night, that's a market we're trying to grow, continue to grow in LA. We have no Japanese players on the team. We've had Japanese players on the team in the past, but we're like, how do we get this community to come out to games if there's not a player to attract them? So we have Japanese Heritage Night. Last year we did about 2,500. We sold about 2,500 packs. Gave out a hat. The hat was great. I mean, it turned up on eBay. I saw some of them on eBay for like $150.
No
it's
way.
Crazy, right? Yes.
Oh, that's insane.
Because they were very limited, and once people saw them, they're like, "Ooh, I want one," but it was too late at that point.
Yeah.
Well, this year we tripled that number. And why? Because we decided to bump up the item a little bit. And so I'm gonna show everyone what we developed last year. I mean, it was a little easier for me since I'm of Japanese heritage, but this is what we came up with, this Japanese themed Dodger jersey. And it's a real like nice jersey.
Oh, man.
It's got this like embroidered patch, like flag patch.
Oh, that's not like man, that's like additional. That's on top. Oh,
yeah,
dude,
we
that's
got
beautiful. That's
artwork cool on the back. This actually says Dodgers in Japanese, and just had like Japanese art on it.
Yeah, and I see that design on the sleeve, like the gray.
Yeah. So the community.
What does it say right there?
Responded to this.
What does it say right there on the neck, Ross?
Right here. This says Los Angeles in Japanese, real small.
Man, I love that font.
Yeah, so we use
the color scheme,
traditional Japanese baseball colors, red, gold, and navy. We presented about 6 different options to ticketing.
Wow.
Higher ups, and that's what was chosen. But we ended up tripling that night. I have many other examples. I mean, just for example, we do like we sell like 20,000 tickets for Pride Night. We sell like 20,000 tickets for Mexican Heritage. You know, there's a huge Mexican community in LA.
Yeah.
We do, believe it or not, we do 20,000 ticket packs for Filipino Heritage. We have a huge Filipino community in LA that's not necessarily into baseball, but just because of the cultural aspect and the,
Yeah.
they want to come and party with each other and gather. It's been huge. We have Guatemala, um, El Salvador,
Man, really?
Korea. It's crazy.
Guys, the
So
United Nations over there. But
basically, man, and I mean, I
but
could just show you a couple other jerseys. We got a
yeah,
Black
please.
Heritage jersey right here. Um,
What's that one?
this is Black Heritage. This is another night we're trying to grow. Mookie Betts has put his name behind it, which is really cool for us. Again, you can see all this detailing. Um,
Oh, man, that's
this is a
beautiful.
high quality jersey. This is like something that would probably be like at
Hold it
least
up
like,
to the camera a little bit closer.
yeah.
Oh man, that's cool.
And this is like a nice like heathered material.
Yeah, that's not your typical. Yeah, I
Um,
mean, and the thing is, I mean, there's oh
Korean night. We got the
that's sick.
tiger on the back. It's
Dude,
Korean
that is
pattern on the
gnarly.
side.
Oh,
But
that's
again, the
gnarly, dude.
patch.
And that's stuff
It's
that
like
you'd
a
never
nice
be able to
golden
do,
patch.
yeah, through like the league. I mean, obviously you're not going to change the uniform entirely for a night. Well, some people do. It's like extremely difficult. It has to be planned years in advance.
Um,
Um,
we
and of
did a
course both
Lakers
clubs
night.
have to
We
be
did
a
a
part of
Lakers
it.
night. Lakers night. Kobe.
Oh,
Vanessa
dude,
Bryant got behind this.
that is dope.
Obviously, this was a huge seller, and you're
Is that
seeing
like a Mamba pattern on the jersey?
it is. I mean, we basically aped the Lakers
God, that's
Mamba
nasty,
jersey, but we
dude.
got the like the woven tag
That's
on
sick.
there.
Oh man, you
You
might have to
see
send me
these
one of
on
those.
eBay, of course, man. But you see these on eBay for like $200,
Dude.
and you're starting to see like the knockoffs as
See,
well.
that's the thing. Like, that's the thing. Like, um, obviously these packages are being purchased because of the things that are designed.
Mexico
Oh, dude, love
with
it.
this like Aztec
Do I got one of
pattern on
those?
it.
I might
So,
need one of those for my wall here.
um, anyways,
Yeah.
um,
And
not
that's
to
the thing.
not to
Like
get too far into it and just brag about the designs, which my team
no,
does, but
but where I'm coming from is like a big part of those packages is the advertising part of it and showcasing. Like you can't go on sale without showing that jersey. You have to show the
exactly.
jersey, and then obviously people who are purchasing that package is immensely because of the design. I'm not saying not because they're not proud of their heritage or their community or Dodger baseball, but it's
Mhm.
just a huge win. And and the fact that you guys are growing that program, is basically um, great evidence that this is working. And the fact that they're even being sold in the aftermarket, for hundreds of dollars is insane. I mean, that also shows, very similar with shoes, it shows like the marking of a great design. So yeah, I mean that's an easy one. Like I know most teams do this by now, but I mean not to the extent that you guys are doing it, or diving into more niche markets, not just your Black and Hispanic, going into themed, like maybe there's a local celebrity that's from your area, or there's something that your city is about that no other city has, some insider.
Mhm.
um
Yeah, like the Red Sox did a Bad Bunny bobblehead. The Braves did the Outcast bobblehead,
Outcast.
which shout out to Insung for sending me one. That's one of my
Right.
favorite non-Dodger bobbleheads.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, but those type of
it's like
things.
these things are ticket drivers. The people come specifically for these items,
Yeah.
and as a creative team, we also pitch making the items for ticket packs even a little higher quality. So there's that more of that perceived value. And
Yeah.
it's an easy ask because really for a ticket pack, you're just building the cost of that item into the ticket, the cost of the ticket. So it's like a win-win situation.
but but also I'd say, I've I know in the organization I was at, there was a time where we weren't involved in that process. And I would say if you're not involved or in that process, or you're not designing those jerseys or bobblehead boxes, or
Oh
you
yeah.
you definitely, I mean, it's art. and that's what
Yeah.
the creative team, that's your expertise. Like there's been so many times where someone was over that area that just had no,
Mhm.
background, or was constantly working with the creative team to, get it to the right phase and then kind of take it, to leadership. And I always thought that was odd. I'm like, well, why don't we just handle it? Like we do press checks, we do,
Right.
uh, there's all sorts of like pre-pro meetings about, set design, like we know fabrication, like, and
You
like
make a great point because really, who knows the brand better than you and your team?
yeah,
But also, who knows like the city? Who knows
yeah, the heartbeat,
the
the
local
DNA.
vibe? You know,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, the culture.
and
Yeah. It's our job to know
and
that.
and rather than marketing coming up with this concept and like having the vendor do the art or what have you, or having this
Yeah.
thing designed in Oregon or China or wherever. You take the bull by the horns. It becomes a very special, well thought out item. And the proof is in the pudding. I mean, we did huge numbers last year, and we're looking to even build on that even more next year. So
Yeah. That's a
that's just
great.
one example of how creatives can drive revenue.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think it's just undeniable, man, because like, again, we're just kind of playing devil's advocate here, and also just kind of, not just saying things without actually like vetting them out, but, do an A/B test, do a crappy design and see how that goes. Don't do a design, just put a jersey and slap a Mexican flag on the sleeve.
yep.
It's,
See what happens.
see what happens. It's just like it, it it's that right there is your A/B test. There's just no way. There's just like no way we're gonna go out with that. We're gonna get better. The quality of material is gonna get better. Like the photo shoots will get better. So like I would imagine the promotional advertising for that jersey, the one with that had the patch and like the, embroidery and the, really
Yeah.
textured designs. You got to showcase those. This is no longer like, hey, here's a little photo next to the ticket
Oh,
package
for
with a
sure.
price.
You should
Like
see
it's a
like the
release.
commercials for these videos. I mean, the commercials for these items that we produce in house. And the video team does an outstanding job. I got to give a shout out to our production team here. They get really close up and they're doing like the slow-mo pan of the
Yeah, it's like a jersey
jersey.
release, man.
They're getting super close up on the
Dude, that's what
on
people go
the
gaga
tag.
for. They're like, "Oh my god, that looks like, yeah, that's
Exactly.
Kobe's. That's Kobe's font. That's Kobe's nickname. That's Kobe's number. That's Kobe's,
Yes.
Mamba and the texture. Like, dude, that's branding." So yeah, no, not to get stuck on that one, but that's just the thing I want to say is like, um, obviously it's part of their job to come up with ticket packages on the sales side, but it's not their job to make it look amazing and advertise it and show people, and be in tune with the culture. Like they're so focused on sales, and as they should be. But anyway,
Oh,
let's move on.
yeah.
Let's go to
So
numero dos. And sorry, I keep looking down and here and then that way. I'm looking at our notes, so I'm trying to stay on topic. But I want to.
So
Uh,
Chris, I gave you one. Now hit us with another one.
okay. Man, I have a lot listed out, but I'm gonna cherry pick one that I think is interesting. I'm gonna since you
Okay.
mentioned video and production, I'm gonna go with video, like video series that are sponsorable. That's something that when I was at the Astros, we just started to like kind of crack the surface. I know for the longest time, and I know this is no longer the case, but for the longest, it was like leave the players alone, let them do their job. They're trying to stay focused. I mean, that's of course that's obvious, but now they're so involved in wanting to shoot, and they all are passionate about things. They all have like crazy social media accounts. It was really easy for us to just see what they're passionate about, right? Like some of them were passionate about food, some of them were passionate about animals, about working out, of course. And so it was easy for us to just say, hey, what if in the off season, or hey, what if, during the break or one weekend, or an off day, we just go with so and so and go shoe shopping? What if we go and so and get his workout, follow him on during his workout with his team, and build a series around that, and drip it out three. You can shoot someone in one day and get through obviously 3 episodes. You can get a lot of life out of that if you shoot it right and plan it right.
Yeah.
But and then you just go sell that to a sponsor. If it's Lifetime Fitness, then you're following him around, he or her around their passions of workout and health. That's like a layup, honestly. But the real stuff is like fashion, music, friends, that type of stuff. Really, I think the players have like no problem doing. It's easy for them to do. Coach done that, manager or coach won't have a problem with it. It's stuff they're doing anyway. They're probably in New York and they're gonna go to the coolest,
Mm-hmm. You're
shoe
helping
shoe
brand
shop.
the player.
Yeah, and then and in addition to that, the players, starting to develop them as well, and that's something I believe that clubs should do. Give that type of um like equity into the players, so they could essentially know that when I played with this team, they were invested in me. And I know
Mm-hmm.
we got a lot of comments like that, um, but yeah, and the thing is, again, going back to what we were talking about earlier about not being at the table or the pitch phase, that doesn't have to come from sponsorship. Like if you know the culture and you're always down, in the well shooting with the players, and you hear the chatter, or you're in the locker room getting B-roll and you hear what they're passionate about, dude, just package that up in a little one sheeter, pitch that to the marketing and sponsorship team. Say, hey, so and so's already in love with this stuff. We just had, he collects cars. He has amazing cars. Let's do 3 cars, and then let's go get Lexus or Toyota or whatever, Range Rover to sponsor this series. And now you're talking about creating something from small investment, and like you said, Ross, getting 6-7 figures deal out of this for something that was already, that was easy and obtainable and came from your camp, not like the sponsor camp, because a lot of times they get pitched ideas from other companies. Here, it's like, well, we really want to do this because so and so is so good at fashion. Like he or she is just always, coming in, and let's get Zara or whoever, some sort of high end premium brands. So it's just like a pilot. You don't even have to like ask permission. I would just say do it. Like just shoot him, and maybe ask for forgiveness. Be like, hey, we had some downtime and we were on this trip and we shot him or her doing this. Or, hey, here's a proof of concept that we think we can do. We did it with so and so who's on like the minor league level, and we want to do it at the major league level. And throw a price tag on it. Be like, we see the decks. Be like, I think we can, get that for $250,000. That's what, but y'all guys figure it out.
It's
But
funny you
that to
should
me
mention that
would be
though,
game changing.
because it's funny you should mention that because, obviously the sponsors are craving this kind of content.
Yeah, they're looking for it.
And most of the time they're craving the content, but they don't quite know exactly what they want.
Yeah.
So for many years now, actually, here at the Dodgers, I know you're talking about a seat at the table, but the creative team here has actually created kind of a menu of content ideas, series ideas. It could be it could be a video series, it could be a one-off, and a menu is created and kind of and that is shown to the sponsors. It could be a feature, it could be a motion graphic prompt in the stadium, but we basically hand this menu off to sponsorship, and sponsorship either sells or will tack on a sponsor where it makes sense to content on this menu. And it's so funny you mentioned the shoe shopping thing. We actually did that this past year. As Miguel Rojas, he's a big sneakerhead, and he did a really cool thing. He takes some of the rookies and he takes them shoe shopping, and
That's cool.
he buys them Jordans. I mean, I wish I had a mentor that did that for
Well,
me, but right.
yeah.
But that ended up being like a really cool little vignette, and just that's just a good example of, oh, that could actually be sponsored by Nike. You know what I mean? Like there's so many ways that these
No,
things
totally, man.
align.
You can you can align that up with a shoe drop, or if Mookie's friends with so and so on the basketball court, there you go. They drop a shoe and he's gonna do a cross collab. I mean, honestly, man, we pitched so many ideas and a lot of them got picked up. Um, at one point there was a mentality of like, well, we will do it when it gets sponsored, and we just finally convinced leadership like no one's going to sponsor something that they
It's
haven't
the other
seen
way
before.
around.
Like we have to create it first and then show them the likes and the clicks and the engagement levels of that particular post, and then you have data. And it was a no-brainer. I mean, obviously everyone's doing the walk-in photos. I mean, I just remember doing that before it was even sponsored. It was like so and so, they come in strutting, they look clean. Let's just shoot them and drop it on our feed so the feed looks good. And all of a sudden, Lexus came in there and it was like, "Hey, we want that. We'll take that." How many times you do it? You do it every home game. Boom. Yeah, that's a huge number. The logo is at the last, like maybe on the in the corner on the last, image of the carousel, whatever. But yeah, my thought is just, look at yourselves as like a writing team, like an SNL team or something, where hey, once a month you get together. Hey, what do we want to do? What could we, what are things that we're already shooting that are connected with the city, connected with the players, and how could we um so that to the sponsor or marketing team, but not make like a massive amount of new work for ourselves. I think a lot of times we get scared. We're like, well, that's going to be something I'm gonna have to do every game now, dude. If the numbers add up, that could easily be a new person on the team, which we've done before. I've done that. Like
Yep.
it's like, hey, we have to do that every game now, and it's sold for how much? Yeah, we can afford a new person. Like so.
Yeah, trust
um
me, that has more impact on you adding headcount than you going to your boss and saying, "Oh man, we're a lot more busy. we
yeah
need a new, we need a, we need another body." Even if you show them numbers, it's very difficult, as you know. We've been doing this for so long. Even if you have numbers, even if you can justify,
yeah
uh, oh, we need a new designer, or we need a new videographer, we need a new shooter. It's very difficult to do when you've been getting stuff done already
yeah
with the existing team. But when sponsorship comes in and says, "Oh, like such and such sponsor wants to do this series now," well, yes, now you
Yeah,
really do need
that's a
to shoot.
what I say, a horse of different color. Yeah, it really is, and these are strategies that, like, honestly, they're proven. But I do get it's just not like every team is ready for that, or they're having it. That's not even remotely an option. Just don't ask for permission. Just do it. Especially on the video side, there's so much stuff on the cutting room floor when you're editing. Just make something and say, "Hey, I thought of this. We're already doing it. I could do that at the end of the game." And then you're speaking the language, and when you start speaking revenue to like a CEO in the elevator, or like you're fortunate enough to sit in on a maybe a larger budget meeting or something. um that's really, I think, the difference maker, where they start to some folks take the creative team a little more serious than just kind of the creators of beautiful things. Let's get to the next one. Let's see. What do you got, Russ? It's your you pick something.
Well, I wanted to get it as something a little more tactile, a little less sexy, uh, but it's actually obvious. Um, what about the design and production of all the sales collateral the sales team uses? And I laugh because every year I have this conversation with my boss, when it comes to bonuses, raises, and whatnot. Um, and when I hear, oh, you know, this these executives, aren't don't think you deserve this bonus because they look at you as they look at creative as non-revenue. Again,
Wow.
we're still fighting that fight, but you know pardon my language, but the sales team ain't selling shit without the materials we're giving them.
Yeah.
Okay. We are giving them all the tools they need to be good at their jobs. Okay. Um, I know there may it sounded like there's a little bitterness in my voice there. There's not, you know.
Yeah.
I truly believe that it's because of um these like these pieces of collateral that we make for the sales team. Um, that's basically what created our positions in the first place. So
Yeah.
I do, you know, there is no bitterness. I understand the game.
Yeah. I tell people that all
There,
the time. That's why you have a job.
exactly.
Stop
There's no,
complaining.
that's how we came about. That's how creative teams came about. It wasn't making nice, cool Photoshop, Instagram graphics, and these like really nice, fun logos. This is how graphic designers came to be in sports, is designing forms and calendars and marketing one sheets,
Yeah.
flyers,
Brochures, man. Remember brochures?
brochures. I mean, I know it may not seem
Web
sexy,
pages?
but
Yeah.
absolutely. And
Or
this is how we were born, and this is what will continue to give our teams job security is
or
uh
yeah.
is providing all of these marketing and sales tools to the people that need them.
Yeah.
Again, it's not sexy. A lot of these things might be considered entry level. All these flyers, we produce, believe it or not, we still produce probably about over 100 flyers a year for the various group sales
Yeah.
initiatives. And they're not so much old school anymore. They're not printing them out and handing them out, but they still do that. But we still are giving them the same format, 8.5 by 11 flyers,
Yeah.
but now they send it
Printable
as a
graphics.
PDF,
Yeah.
right? And now the person on the other end, the customer is printing it out now and passing it out at church or wherever. Um, and you do hear grumbling about it from your team, right?
Yeah.
But you just got to remind them, like, this is our bread and butter. This is what's
Yeah.
keeping
This is
us
how we
here.
pay the bills. This is what keeps the
That's
lights
right.
on. Dude, let's
That's
talk
right.
about the holy grail, a sales deck. It's
That's
like,
right.
oh man, here we go. Like this is a big pitch. We're pitching AT&T and it's a multi-million-dollar deal and it's
Mm-hmm.
on your desk. It's your responsibility to make this thing look amazing and to wow them. Like that to me is extremely mission critical. Going back to what we were saying, like without that piece
Yes,
of the
sir.
puzzle, the pitch doesn't happen. I can't tell you how many times this is all hands on deck. I don't care what you're working on. Stop what you're doing. We're pitching,
Mm-hmm.
so and so hospital. It's a, 8-figure deal, multi-year. We need video in here. We need photography. We need design. And of course, you're asking people for a lot of money. Design matters, right? I mean, we put it on we
Yeah.
put it on a hoodie. If you're the bigger the ask, the better the design has to be, and the more in sync it has to look. And I always looked
Yeah. I
at
mean, you
like,
can't go to Bank of America with a janky PowerPoint presentation that the intern made. I
yeah,
mean, no
no,
offense, interns, but
no,
um,
no, man, it's experience. You have to know, like, okay, clean font, it can't be that small, like all the nonsense in the back, good stuff in the front. If you really want to get, impressive, throw some motion graphics on there, make it. I mean, it should be like a TED talk when that thing gets pitched.
and the thing
Um,
is that deck may, go by the wayside. They may pitch Budweiser and get turned down, but you've already made your value
yeah,
known to the sponsorship department, right? You've already shown what your value is, and like next time they have to pitch um, another big company on a multi-million-dollar deal, or even baseball ops, they might want to be making a pitch to a free agent. We've been
you know,
involved in those.
I used to get, you said there, you can sense a little, no, 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 you said it might sound like there's a little bitterness. I actually have bitterness in this comment because
Oh, let it out, man. Let it out.
no, I would get so frustrated and hurt because sponsorship would go over and celebrate a huge win, right? Like a multi-million-dollar deal that the whole team worked on, right? Including ours. And we would not be involved in the celebration. We would not be
Yeah.
involved in the email. We would
Yeah.
not be involved in the, happy hour. None of
Oh, I
that.
hear
And
you. I
that's
hear
wrong.
you.
That's where I'm like, dude, there has to be a good leader on that side and on the creative side and on the marketing
Mhm.
side to understand, like, hey, this was a team effort. Let's celebrate it as a win. What are y'all doing? Everybody getting shoes? Let's get some shoes for these guys. Let's get some shoes for this
I
team.
did it
I
so
don't
many
know.
times.
There was all sorts of things like that. I was just like, dude,
Oh, I
that's
know. I know.
it's that to me kind of to me that's like culture stuff. And it's like, hey, you have to you have to if we're all hands on deck and we're all creating this thing and I'm getting info from you at night and we're finishing the finishing touches on the day of and we're printing it. I remember I would go to the printer and I'd be like, this is wrong. The color's wrong. This is like, I need 5 of these. I need them printed beautifully. I need them bounded beautifully and I need them shipped here and they cannot be late. And like all the
Mhm.
pressure was on, me or my team. And,
Mhm.
and I'm not saying like I was the one who did the work or put the information together or the data or whatever, but like that's a big part of the puzzle. So anyway, that to me is a big one because like you said, man, when those big sales deals go through like a massive group of, 10,000 people in the medical
Team
district that are
effort.
coming to the game or whatever, like, that was a landing page, that was an email, that was an animated GIF, signature. Like, so I'm a big believer in that stuff. Yeah, no, I think you nailed it with the
That's an organizational effort. But you know what? I know CDG, as a creative leader, I know you went to sponsorship and you were like, I need to, I need to hook my guys up with something.
I had no shame.
I know you did that, right? I mean,
I
I've
had
been in
no shame.
sponsorship. I've been in sponsorship, begging for Panda Express gift
Like
cards.
everybody. Have you ever heard of the Chick-fil-A black card? Anybody heard of that? Yeah, dude.
No, but
It's a black card that
sounds
you
like something
get.
I
I'm
need.
about to break the I'm about to
Sounds like something I want.
no, no, no. I think it's public knowledge, but no, I'm saying I'm about to piss off a whole lot of people. But I told you earlier today, I'm hungry. Um, no, yeah, it's a black card. And like when you get a big, like, 6, 7 figure deal with them, they give you like 10 of them. And it's like, hey, you just show this card anytime, forever, and you get free Chick-fil-A. It was amazing. It was
Like
like a,
forever.
yeah, it's a black card. It says Chick-fil-A on it, and it's like a platinum badge. Uh,
Oh,
yeah, and that would, and I was just like, can we just get one? And I could just take the team out once a
oh,
week or
I
once a
need one
month.
of those. I need
Anyway,
one.
yeah, there's a bunch of stories there. But you know what? I love, man, some of my best friends worked in that area, and man, I would always, yeah, of course, they'd spend a lot of time with us sales teams too. One of my great mentors, Jason Howard from the Chicago Bulls, man, he was head of sales and ticketing for years, man, and we were tight because I would go vet and say, hey, man, we can make this better, and I think when we make it better, you can ask for more.
You
Um,
know, I would just remember one thing again, like we're talking about the non-sexy stuff. Like this isn't stuff you would probably put on your Instagram uh, portfolio and
yeah,
say, "Oh, look at the cool thing I did." But believe me, that's the reason we're here, and
yeah,
it's again, it literally is job security, us being able to do those type of things. But Chris, we were talking earlier, and you had mentioned something that you and your team had worked on in the past that probably saved your organization millions of dollars. And I told you I had never even thought of that because we had not been involved in that process at the Dodgers. But why don't you go into number 4 and explain to the people what we're talking about here?
yeah. And I think this one's fine. Um, I, I always try to think before I say stuff. Um, so infographics, um,
Mhm.
obviously like a amazing way to communicate data and information, right? Like But if you think about that, the power of that, like if you look at installations in the stadium and around just buildings in general, a lot of times you see like informative stuff, right? That's obviously what an infographic is. But the team was approached. I won't get into like all the details, but to help with an arbitration deal, which if you're not familiar with baseball, one player might think and an agent might think he's worth X, and the organization might think he's worth X, he or she's worth X, I guess in baseball too.
Mhm.
And they can't agree to terms. Well, they go to a third party and basically give their spill. And that party decides, what the amount, and they both say, hey, whatever the third party agrees to, we'll go with it. So it's basically like a hearing. And so, the club has its legal team and the player has its, agency or legal team. And they make their case, hey, I think so and so is worth X, and we think he's not, but we want him on the team. So we built this infographic for the legal team, and it was really difficult to do because it was not normal. You don't typically put information on an infographic that's not like super attractive, but it was there were facts. This was the batting average last year. This was the all sorts of data, and of course
They get pretty
because
contentious, from what I've heard.
yeah, and it's facts, man. I mean, that's what the other side's doing, right? And it's business. Honestly, that's why I don't, I think it's part of the business. I mean, you just read about it. It's like, well, we think, he's marked, he did this last year. He got, whatever, Cy Young, his stats, he whatever. You get where I'm coming from. So
Mhm.
each side makes their pitch, and usually it's a verbal argument if you're familiar with like legal, proceedings, and a huge stack of like 100 papers that are appendix and all that good stuff. Well, legal team wanted a visual presentation of like their their case, so we did that, and we freaking killed it, man. It looked beautiful. And they went into the arbitration case. They won the case, and when it was over, um, the legal team came over and said that the other side, after it was all said and done, came over and just said, whoever made that infographic for y'all pretty much slam dunk won the case for you. You should thank
Wow.
them. And he was like, so I'm
Wow.
thanking you. Which it was just and the number was, it was like 2.5 million, the difference. In that particular case, which usually it's not like huge gaps, but it was like, I want to say at
But they
least
add
2.5.
up because there could be like three
Oh,
or
for
four
sure.
arbitration cases
Yeah.
a year.
Yeah. And so anyway, it wasn't so much like I would say like, hey, go ask the legal team how you can get involved in that particular area. But when they're making big cases, and of course every club has I mean, not a huge legal team, a very busy legal team. Um, you could really help in that area. And it's super confidential stuff, extremely confidential stuff. But it
Mhm.
is what, in a really big case, what they do. Like if you ever go into a larger, Supreme Court hearing, or maybe a larger, more complex hearing, they have visual aids, right? Like they're not just photos, exhibit A, exhibit B, it's like, hey, we want to show you and illustrate what we're trying to communicate here. So
I've seen
so
that
that's
on
just
TV.
one, like, and it was it wasn't, like I said, it's not something that's like extremely popular, but it is, again, going back to what we're talking about here, how to drive or save, revenue for the club. And so
You
just
know
really
what?
thinking out of the box.
Now that you mentioned that, and yes, you who knows how many millions that you saved the Astros over the years, which is pretty crazy to think about. Um, and I will speak from experience. I know that the Astros were well known for their infographics, not the legal ones. I never got to see those, but I forget. It might have been the first Connect where you showed off some of the infographics, or maybe I saw it in a publication or something. And the Astros were like, they did some really nice infographics while you were there.
I
CDG.
appreciate it, man. Yeah, it was fun, man.
I
We
remember, and because I was like, we need to step up our infographic game because look at what the Astros are doing. So
what
I can just imagine what the courtroom ones look like. Like,
and not to get off subject, but it really is utilizing the platform as well, like in a carousel, that could be a long, swiped graphic, or YouTube, I believe, or Facebook, I think it was YouTube, had the ability to do a 360 graphic where it's literally like you're in a circle and you can look around and there's info everywhere. It's really just like using one of their tools that's made for more like an environment, but you upload your own. And so people can
yeah.
scroll and move through their own info. So not to mention, I mean, it's just there's so
Oh,
much.
like touch screen it. Like,
Yeah. And then
oh yeah.
so I was just kind of referencing some of the stuff we were doing at that time. And then not to mention there's so much data and so many accolades, right? It's like, okay, how do you want me to celebrate what? Like, how do we put all that in one graphic? So it's real informative, and a lot of those graphics that you were referencing, Ross, ended up becoming installations in the stadium. That's how like how
Maybe
much
that's where I saw.
engagement they got. Yeah, it was just like, hey, you know what? We want to sponsor that, and that should live in the stadium because it's history. But anyway, let's go.
You
Let's
know, now
go.
thinking about it, but now thinking about it, you may have been partly responsible for on the agent side or agency side. Now these player agents or agencies are hiring their own graphics teams.
Yeah,
I mean, we had people from Wasserman attending Connect, and I wonder, I always wonder what are they working on? And yeah, I see some of their social graphics and whatnot, but I guarantee you they are working on infographics and other
yeah.
visual aids
Oh,
for these arbitration cases, or even just to pitch their client in free
yep,
agency.
yep. You see a lot of it in NIL right now with like recruitment. You see a lot of
Yeah.
it in it's a pretty dark, not dark, it's a pretty deep hole that you have to go down. But once you start following like agencies and agents and groups that like are representing, yeah, no, for sure. I mean, Watchmen's up there with a few. They're of course a big group, and I
Forest.
haven't seen anything particularly but from them, but I'm sure um, I think I want to say just looking at any of those that I mentioned feeds, they're celebrating, they're celebrating their athletes. Like that's they're building equity, they're building marketability, like of course. So yeah, no, I mean hopefully, I mean who knows? Maybe we did have a hand in that, but um let's go on to the next one.
Okay.
And the last one, only because we're running out of time, but um this last one, and man, we had a long list. We just had to pick from, maybe that's something we ask folks to do is, send us their ideas. But we talked about, pitching sponsorable in-game promotion, like in-game graphics, or, sponsored matchups, player of the games. Essentially thinking about the inventory you have on in game. It's so difficult, right? Like the show is so packed, there's barely enough time for a commercial or to seeing do a seventh inning stretch. It's just a packed inventory. But there's things that you already do that you're already telling the fans about, like how many strikeouts, how many what's the current average, what's the starting lineup, all those things
Mhm.
that could totally be done a different way and not so statically and done with motion graphics. And now
Mhm.
you're adding like a lot of visual eye candy. And again, the more eye candy you get, the more eyeballs you get, the more I guess advantageous and attractive it is to the sponsorship team, right? And so I know there
Oh,
were things that we were doing that were like very fundamental baseball, but now if we put a graphic on it and run it for like 5 seconds, it was sponsorable, um so anyway,
bet,
that's
man.
one thing I wanted to talk about, because I know, Ross, you have your hand in heavily in the motion graphic side as far as managing your
Oh
team. So
man, I could go on and on. Um, Almost every one of our prompts that plays in game, and these are ones that probably fans might even just take for granted or not notice. But it wasn't long ago where you didn't have a strikeout prompt or a
Yeah.
make noise prompt or we didn't have prompts for like single, double, triple.
Oh yeah, you're right.
But now we're looking for things to make a motion graphic for.
Yeah. Steals.
Um, Steals, stolen bases, and then
Yeah.
it's like sponsored by like, and there's usually some, not usually, but sometimes there's like a cute tie-in with the sponsor. Like stolen base might be, a law firm,
Yeah.
right? Or
That's not
uh,
right.
uh,
I thought you were gonna say Brinks
even
or something like that.
even Dodge, like we play a Dodgers win graphic at the end of a game. Obviously,
Oh,
we don't
that's
win
good.
every home game, but if the
Yeah.
Dodgers win,
Yeah.
that's sponsored. It's sponsored by a pizza company,
Yeah.
and like they give you a code where you can get like a free pizza. So like then it becomes like, oh, the Dodgers win. That's automatically ingrained
Yeah.
into the fan, to the fan consciousness.
Yeah. That's so
And
true.
I think all the teams do that now, right? Like, you get 10 strikeouts, you get a free burger somewhere. Um,
Yeah. I mean, most of them, but like again, going back to what I was saying, um, bring it internal and drive the conversation. Don't react to the conversation. Like, hey, I notice we do this every game, and I mock up the animation. Like, create it. Don't wait for somebody to ask you. Hey, every time we have two outs, I thought about this idea. We can do, when the third out happens, this goes down, or you know what, we always have at least two interceptions in the game. I'd like to do this when it happens, or
yeah.
rushing the, I don't know, I mean, sacks. I mean, things that need to happen in the game. I mean, I know safeties aren't very prevalent, but goals, shot on goals. I mean, all sorts of things. Like you you can easily, especially if you're already involved and the flow of the game, build it
Mhm.
out, and just don't wait for someone to give you permission, or for
You're
it to.
talking about like on the pitch side. Well,
Yeah,
I have
there's
I have
there's
kind of an example of that. We've pitched, a million things, but one that kind of happened organically is, I can't remember if it's double, like the double prompt or double play, but something with double. We would always in game we'd always play the double Jeopardy sound. You know that I can't
yeah.
even like imitate it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't even like imitate it. It's kind of an annoying sound, but like
Yeah.
it became like just a thing. Like, oh, the guy hit a double. It's gonna be the
Yeah,
Jeopardy
it's
sound.
probably
Well,
some graphic operator that was like, "Hey, I need a sound effects." Got it.
well, guess who actually sponsors doubles now? The doubles motion graphic or prompt. Jeopardy.
No way.
Jeopardy sponsors it.
The show,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
dude.
So
That's
the
brilliant.
company that creates these game or that produces these game shows like Jeopardy, I think Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune are the same. Um, they came to us and said, "Well, like we want to put our name of that, and then we want to put Wheel of Fortune on something else."
Man,
So it became a deal.
dude, that actually brings up another, again, like, just something deep in the treasure box. We were starting to explore sound design, um, in my time there, and it was really about upselling campaign assets. And this is not on our list, but I just want to throw it out there. We started to say, look, because the way we were building these campaigns were, we build the look, and then we'd build a style frame, and not getting into all that, but ultimately when we were done, we would build a brand style guide for that campaign, and we are doing probably 3 a year. And I started to, it was more for our internal, like, processes for like the animators and the videographers and anyone who's editing, but also it was, ended up being extended to our partners, like a local grocery store, or a dealership or whatever. And I started to realize that that's a huge bonus. Like it's one thing to get the naming rights to, to be a partner, a sponsor, and then another to get like the logo lockup. But then it was another to get like our assets. We would literally share our templates with you. And so when you're at like, John Doe Toyota on, Highway 45, and you go into the showroom, you see all these graphics that are integrated graphics that they look like what you see in the stadium. So we would make that as an upsell, like, hey, you can be a partner at this level, but if you want to go full integrated partner, you get our asset package. And then we would also, that's kind of what I was saying, we're exploring sound design as well. Just like, when you hear a Southwest commercial and you kind of hear that, or United, I forget who it is, you hear like the sound of the kind of, I guess, the door being locked or about to take off. We could create you one as well. So if you're a dealership, it'd be like, a bat, a swing, and the, a revving of an engine. And that would be how we end your commercials. Because we got to the point where we were being asked to
Interesting that you dipped into sound design.
yeah, we were doing
That's
so
not
many
typically something.
commercials. I mean, we weren't doing so many, we were doing such good work that we started doing commercials. We were like, this ain't right. Like, why are they well, y'all should be using your agency. That should be an upsell if you want us to create your commercial. So then we started to talk to sponsorship and say, hey, listen, you have to quantify our time by pulling us off of baseball or the sport and the job to do advertising for a company that didn't pay that in their contract. Because a lot of times it's like, hey, we signed a big deal with Pizza Hut. Can y'all make the commercial? Like, is that in the contract? Like, did y'all bundle us into the contract to make a commercial? Like, no, but they don't have an agency. I'm like, hell no. You got to be out of your mind to tell me they don't have an
Oh
agency.
man,
And so I'd say, no,
that's
let's
actually a
quantify.
huge fight
Yeah.
with
I'm
us in sponsorship right now.
I mean, I get it. I get it. It's
Um,
a bonus. And it's like, hey, but at the
dude,
same time, it should be on the front end, like, hey, for us to create your commercial, if you don't have that asset or your agency's tied up and maybe you don't want to pay $1 million, we'll do it for 100, like, but so that's
dude,
when it
we
really
had
when
to
it
flat out
started.
tell sponsorship that we won't even do like the ribbon board graphics. We're like, don't they have an agency that could do it? Can't
Yeah.
they do it? Don't they have an art
And a
department?
lot of time, dude, a
Like,
lot of
no,
time they
this is
just
an
won't
add-on.
ask. A lot of time they literally just won't ask. Like, oh, I don't want to ask my rep. I'm like,
Man,
dude, so we're
this
gonna
is an
be tied for
add-on,
that.
man.
Yeah. See, we're getting off track. but
We
but
are.
but my point is, if you reverse that and you value those things, you can upsell them. And then again, you're adding what was $1 million contract could be $1,250,000. Like, by adding, hey, we want to extend our campaign to you. So we'll give you the assets. Your team could create stuff, we'll approve it. We'll give you a commercial that we'll create, and then we'll give you, a campaign soundbite that, at the end of your spots and our spots, we can share that. And it's like over the course of a season, people start to, oh, I know that sound, kind of like what you just described. So, it really is. You have to take off your hat, stop designing or creating for a moment or editing, and just say, hey, guys, we want to see it at the table. Let's come up with some ideas to pitch them. Here's how agencies do it, or whatever. Here's how I did it at my last job. And again, just speak the language. The language is definitely revenue. Cash is king. And when you start thinking about those things and applying them to creative, man, it just changes the whole ballgame, like you were talking about earlier, Ross. So
First of all,
it's kind of what we wanted to hit today.
first of all, you you just gave me an idea because we spent a lot of hours creating you know our campaign style guide for each year, our visual style guide. And once it's done, we hand it off to sponsorship, and we've been giving it to the sponsors for free. So
Yeah.
maybe that needs to be an upcharge from now on our end. And
Oh yeah.
you just enlightened me.
Yeah.
Like, we put a lot of work into that thing, and maybe we should be
Yeah.
feeling the
Yeah. And here
benefits of that.
and here's an add-on. If we make postseason, that's in a separate line item. Like, well, you'll get that campaign as well. Like, that's a huge, you got to pay to play. And it's so easy to upsell people that you're already doing business with. Most people know this in business. Like, that's going to be a lot easier than to go sell something new. So um so yeah,
Yeah.
those are just some ideas and thought starters, and hopefully you could poke the bear a little bit and get in on the game, and then just thanks Adam again for kind of igniting that conversation at the Braves.
Thanks, Adam.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Him and Sung, they're a great team. Honestly, everyone over there in the Braves work, but I try to always think about what we talk about outside of sports, and I mean outside of baseball, but I think everything we talked about is applicable, across the board in any sport.
Well, I think this was a great conversation to have because they don't teach us this when you're in design school or art school. You don't learn anything about this. I mean, I think I learned how to make an invoice. That's about it. That you don't. This isn't taught.
Yeah.
The thing is, which I found, this is I just finished my 18th season with the Dodgers. Awesome. And we've built a team here. We've literally built from the ground up. And adding headcount can be one of the most difficult things to ask for if you work for one of those organizations that just kind of doesn't get it on the creative side, which is 95% of sports organizations. Like, let's be real. Wow. And the way to get them to increase your headcount, give you more of a budget for something, give you a raise, give your team more money. The way to get that is to make these business cases and to say, you know what, we were in the mix on the ticket pack item design. People are coming for that. That's driving ticket sales. We are making these pitch decks. We are making these sponsorable graphics. We are even doing the infographics to save the company millions of dollars. We are doing agency level work, which if you went to an agency, you'd probably be paying between $1 and $2 million per year for the work that we do. And you have to put it in those terms, because I found that when you just say, oh, you know what, the Blue Jays have 8 creatives, or the Atlanta Hawks, they have 10 creatives, and how come we only have 4? Like, it just doesn't click with most of our bosses. So use these examples and just remember that we are creatives. Creative teams are revenue departments, and I'm gonna stand by that.
Love it. I support that. So yeah, we hope this conversation has sparked some ideas on how you can use creative to drive revenue for your club, and if nothing else, it just changes your mindset and gets you to kind of I was gonna say something funny. I was gonna say pick a fight with other people, pick a fight with other departments, but that's not what I mean. I just mean, like, just push. A lot of times
it's a conversation.
Yeah, it starts with a conversation. A lot of times, like Ross was just saying, it's no, there's no way we could bring someone else on. There's no way we can give you more budget to do, and then the next year it's a maybe. Hey, I'm asking again. I know last year we talked about it and you thought we were crazy, but now look what we've done. And it's like, you know what, maybe, let's see what we got next year. And then the third year, it's like, yes, definitely. You know what? It's almost like you're annoying and you're right. I see what, oh, had you not pointed it out, I would have never seen this.
Annoying and right.
Yeah. So
love that.
So much happens that way. And I get it. If I was not prepared to, invest in something, I would probably say the same, shut it down real quick. No, I'm not prepared for that. We're not prepared. We didn't plan for that. Ooh. The next year. Okay. Yeah. I do remember we had this conversation, and then, now my eyes are
the seed was planted.
Yeah. So if anything, that's what we hope, this combo, can spark. But, by the way, before we leave, don't forget, MLC Connect, conference 2024. If you have not registered, you should. More details on that coming, but just again, always want to mention these are the type of conversations we have there, but with no boundaries. Yeah. And then also, if you found some value in this discussion, yeah, definitely, like, subscribe, turn on notifications so you guys know when we're dropping a new episode. Other than that, Ross, anything else before we get out here?
Hey, it was a great conversation. As always, can't wait to have more of these conversations on future podcasts and in person at Connect.
Yeah, same. All right, guys, had a good time. Talk soon. See you next time.